Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. It's your girl Lorian. I'm back again today with a new video. If you're new here, welcome and subscribe to my channel. And if you're returning back, welcome back. So in today's video, I'm sharing on how we need to do the work. Doing the work, I mean doing the things that God has called us to do. You know, everything that God tells you to do, go ahead and do it. It is obedience before God. You need to be obedient whenever God instructs you to do something. And you know, the reward of obedience is blessings. God will reward you with blessings whenever you're being obedient, you know, in doing the things that He has told you to do. For example, if it is content creation, you know, creating videos on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, go ahead and start. Don't wait for perfection. You are not God, you know, to achieve perfection just like that. Just be consistent, and as you're trying, God will give you structure and strategy because He's seeing you are doing the work. You are being obedient. Don't give God excuses. I personally, God instructed me, you know, to start my YouTube channel in January this year, and I went ahead and started that. And it's because it hit me so hard, you know, in my heart, that was really God. I knew that He wanted me to start a YouTube channel. I went ahead, you know, I uploaded a few videos on my YouTube. But after some time, you know, I wasn't seeing people subscribing to my channel. Then I started being discouraged, yet I had to, you know, to be consistent and keep on, you know, uploading videos. Do you know what I did? I went ahead and deleted those videos. I was uploading and then deleting at the same time because I was so worried about subscribers, followers, and all that stuff. And that was really wrong. I needed to trust God in the process. So if you're that kind of person, let this message, you know, touch you and stop. Stick in there and do the work. Don't mind about, you know, the recording materials, perfect cameras, perfect, you know, lightings and all that. Use the little things that you have right now, you know. As you're doing the work, you know, God will see that, you know, you are trying, and He will give you all the things that you need in the process. Remember, Scripture tells us that God, you know, can't trust you with much unless He trusts you with a little first. And I'm going to read that scripture here. So do the work right now. Don't procrastinate. Start now. You are not going to achieve perfection at once. God will give you strategy and structure as He's seeing you trying, you know, being there, you know, to record videos or doing whatever things He has instructed you to do. And you know, after that, I was just feeling so uncomfortable. After a few months, you know, I was seeing videos on you need to be consistent, you need to be consistent. Then in my mind I was like, God is telling me, you know, to go back and record videos. And I went back and started recording videos. Yet if I had started, you know, if I didn't delete my videos, my previous videos that I recorded in January, maybe I could have been very far right now. But because, I was so worried of subscribers, instead of trusting God, I did the things that, that displeased God, and that was really wrong. So let this message encourage you to do the work. So I'm going to read scripture, and we see how important it is to do the work that the Lord has called us to do. Let me read Luke chapter 16, verse 10. It says, "Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. And whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much." You see? God can't trust you with much unless He sees that you can handle the little that you have. That is the way God works. He can't trust you with much unless you can handle the little that you have right now. That's why you've been wondering, I'm praying to God, I'm seeking God, to bless me with big things, but He hasn't done them yet because He can't really trust you. What are you using? How are you developing the little that you have in the moment? How can God trust you? So you need to be, to use the little things that you have for God to trust you with more. Let me proceed and read Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 6 to 8. It says, "Alas, sovereign Lord, I said, I do not know how to speak. I'm too young. But the Lord said to me, do not say I'm too young. You must go to everyone I send you to and say whatever I command you." This is Jeremiah, telling God that he is too young to do the things that God instructed him to do. It's the same thing that happens to us. Whenever God calls us to do things, we start giving excuses, and God, scripture says our thoughts are not God's thoughts, neither our ways are God's ways. You see, as human beings, there is a way we want perfection, swiftly. We want things to work out swiftly. And it doesn't work like that. Sorry. It does not really work like that. Jeremiah is saying that he is too young to speak. But the Lord said to Jeremiah, do not say I'm too young. This means God doesn't like excuses whenever He tells you to do something. He wants you to trust Him. We are supposed to trust God. And in most cases, God calls us to do the things that we really feel uncomfortable of doing. For example, I myself, I used to be very, very shy. And even recording my first video, I was trembling, I was really trembling. And it is just by the grace of God that I'm here. And you can also do it. If I did it, it means you can also do it. I didn't know that I could sit in front of a camera and, and start recording videos. But God had already, called me to do this before the foundation of the world. And as I'm doing it right now, this means it's time for me to do it right now. So go ahead and do the work. Don't give God excuses. So God told Jeremiah that, do not say I'm too young. You must go to everyone I send you to and say whatever I command you. You see? Obedience. When God tells us to do things, he wants us to obey, his word, his will, and go ahead and do those things. And you know it very well that obedience really rewards, and the rewards of obedience is blessings. God will bless you. And if you're being disobedient, then you will be cursed. And that is scripture. So, another thing is be consistent, in doing the work of the Lord that he has called you to do. Stick in there. Trust God in the process. As you're trusting God, as you're being consistent, you start seeing, things becoming so easy for you compared to what it was in the beginning. Like I personally, it was hard for me in the beginning, but right now I see myself improving, I keep on improving whenever I'm recording videos. So do the work. I'm going to read another scripture, and that is in Matthew chapter 25, verse 14 to 30. It says, "For the kingdom of heaven is like a man traveling to a far country, who called his own servants and delivered his goods to them." Verse 15, "And to one he gave 5 talents, to another 2 talents, and to another 1 talent, to each according to his own ability." You see, God gives us according to our own ability. So stop comparing yourself to others. We are not the same. I proceed. "And immediately he went on a journey." Verse 16. "Then he who had received the 5 talents went and traded with them and made another 5 talents. You see? Increase. What are you doing with the things that God has given you? Verse 17, and likewise, he who had received 2 talents gained 2 more also. Verse 18, but he who had received 1 went and dug in the ground and hid his Lord's money. You see? This one shows us how some people behave with the talents and gifts that God, gives them. Verse 19, after a long time, the Lord of the servants came and settled accounts with them. This is the parable of the talents that I'm reading through here. Verse 20, so he who had received 5 talents came and brought 5 other. You see, the one who received 5 talents multiplied the 5 that he had and brought 5 more talents, saying, Lord, you delivered to me 5 talents. Look, I have gained 5 more talents besides them. Verse 21. His Lord said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful over a few things. I'll make you a ruler over many things. You see? This pleases God. He says, well done, good and faithful servant. Whenever you're doing the work of the Lord, you're being consistent, in the sight of God, you are a good and a faithful servant to God. And he says, you were faithful over a few things. I'll make you a ruler over many things. You see what this parable tells us here? That if we are faithful with few things, then this means we can also manage, like great things. Just as this parable of talents, tells us here. Enter into the joy of your Lord. You see, you enter into the joy of the Lord if you are doing the work. Verse 22. He who also received 2 talents came and said, Lord, you delivered to me 2 talents. Look, I have gained 2 more talents besides them. Verse 23. His Lord said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a few things. I'll make you a ruler over many things. Whenever we are faithful with the few things, the little things, it gives God proof that we can also, rule bigger things. Enter into the joy of your Lord. Verse 24. Then he who had received the 1 talent came and said, Lord, I knew you to be a hard man. You see? The complainer. And said, I knew you, Lord, to be a hard man, reaping where you have not sown, and gathering where you have not scattered seed. Verse 25. And I was afraid and went and hid your talent in the ground. Look, there you have what is yours. You see this person who received 1 talent, how he behaved with his 1 talent? He was afraid. It is so dangerous, to sit on whatever God has called you to do. Your talents, your gifts. He's saying here that he was afraid. If God instructs you to do something, trust God fully, trust God completely. Remember, when God tells you to do something, just know He has already ordained you for it. He has already approved you. He wants you, to look at Him. Don't let anything else distract you. Like I myself, I was distracted by, the number of subscribers, likes, and all that. Yet, I was just delaying myself out of ignorance. So this is so important. Verse 26. But his Lord answered and said to him, You wicked and lazy servant, you knew that I reap where I have not sown, and gather where I have not scattered seed. Verse 27. So you ought to have deposited my money with the bankers, and at my coming I would have received back my own with interest. 28. Therefore take the talent from him and give it to him who has talents. You see what will happen to you if you're not using the things that God, has called you to do. He will take them from you and give them to someone else who is serious about their calling, about doing the work. 29. For to everyone who has, more will be given. You see? God has already told you to do something. Like you have it already. He has already approved you. Just start. Start immediately. Don't delay. Don't hesitate. Don't seek for people's approval. God has already approved you. No one can disapprove what God has approved. No man. No man can shut a door that God has already opened. If God tells you to do something, it means he has already also given you the ability for that thing. You are ordained for it. You see? For to everyone who has more, he will be given. For to everyone who has, more will be given, and he will have abundance. You see? You'll have abundance when you please God by doing what he has instructed you to do. But from him who does not have, even what he has will be taken away. You see? If you refuse to do the work, what you have that God has given you, he will take it away from you and give it to someone else. Even what he has will be taken away. Even the little things that you had before will be taken away from you because of not being serious. Verse 30, and cast the unprofitable servant into the outer darkness. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. You see? So it is so important, to do the will of God. It is very important to do the will of God. So, let me hope that this message has really blessed you, to start doing the work. Don't wait. God has already anointed you for it. You have the ability. Trust God. Keep praying. You can also fast and ask God to give you courage, motivation, to do his will. So that was it for today. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Hope this message has blessed you, and let's meet in my next video.